see myself and be aware of how I show up with others, then not only am I encouraging myself, I'm opening the door.
Welcome, everyone, to the Driving Vision podcast brought to you by the Zeigler Auto Group. And here with me, Auto Group Director of Talent Development, Mike Van Ryn. Welcome, Mike.
Hey, thanks, Sam.
Be sure to subscribe to the podcast, like it if you do, and leave a comment. This Sunday, April 23rd, we're live streaming the Zeigler Kalamazoo Marathon finish line in a special segment powered by Mercedes-Benz Hoffman Estates EVS. Join the live stream at Zeigler Auto Group's YouTube page and via the attached link in the show notes. See you then. Hey, everybody, I enjoy doing these weekly segments because I personally learn a ton. I hope you do as well. Join me now in studio at Zeigler Studios for a conversation with Zeigler Auto Group's Training and Development Department, Ariah Daniels, and Tim Terrentine. We go there now. Hey, everybody, welcome to the special edition of the Driving Vision Future of Zag Today podcast. So with us today, Ariah Daniels, welcome. Yes. Ariah, it's always awesome to have you here. You're fully engaged and involved with training and development across the Zeigler Auto Group, delivering culture surveys to stores. You've been busy. Have you been home like 3 days in a row?
I think it's about that. I'm like on your schedule, Sam. I don't know how much I'm sleeping. I don't know, but yeah.
And yet, what's crazy, Ariah, you have a commitment to health and personal excellence and discipline. You're still keeping up your routine, we can see. How do you do this given the crazy, hectic life that you've undertaken and the travel schedule?
Yeah, absolutely. I think first and foremost, it's just a habit I've created, right? It's just a part of who I am and what I've become. And it was just a matter of starting. And so starting that journey and continually being consistent with it and being disciplined just keeps me in it. And the days that I skip it, I can tell my game's off.
So I'm curious, just for my own personal curiosity, how many people across the Zeigler Auto Group as you travel say, hey, how do you keep up that routine and teach me? Like, how many people would you say you're kind of mentoring in greater health and wellness?
I always hope that no matter what I'm putting out there on social media or whoever I'm trying to make an impact on, that it's everyone, regardless if it's making a direct impact on them in the moment and in this kind of moment in time, versus maybe it's something in a few months where they remember kind of, oh, hey, I see that she was doing that, or I saw that she's working out, or whatever it is, right? Yeah. So I think no matter what, and definitely with the topic of today of self-awareness, it takes everyone a different spot in their life, wherever they are, to become self-aware about what's important to them. And at a point in my life, I knew that I needed to start being self-aware about the way that I was showing up for myself and for the people around me. And of course, health and wellness was just something that obviously that's where it starts for me. That's where it starts for a lot of people. And everyone really can take that in to know that like doing those things that you need to do for yourself is how you are better to be able to be a leader for others.
Well, I know you've made a huge impact for many. I loved the interview we did at Mercedes-Benz with the office staff there, the crew there, and they talked fondly about the impact you've had on them and challenging them to not only to have a voice and to make a difference, but that personal discipline as well. And so thank you for being a great example and traveling across the Zeigler Auto Group. And
it's been fun.
My gosh, how cool it is today to have Tim Terrentine here at Zeigler Studios, high atop Zeigler Honda on Stadium Drive. Welcome, Tim.
It's great to be here. It's good to spend time with the team.
So, Tim, you own Lead Translator Consulting Group for our audience outside the Zeigler Auto Group. To our friends inside the ZAG, you need no introduction because you've been here many times. So let's do it. How are you this week driving vision across the Zeigler Auto Group?
What I have enjoyed, and thank you for having me, both of you, what I've enjoyed talking to the teams this week about and what's on my heart is helping us see ourselves more clearly so that we can actually bring the change we want to see to the world. A lack of self-awareness is in the way of our leadership. It is a problem across the board. There's just so much blaming and shaming and excuse making and external pointing that we're not seeing our way to solution. Even on the smallest interpersonal conflicts, all the way to global economic, social, political problems, a lack of self-awareness is at the heart of our challenges.
You know, Tim, you bring up a great point. What is it about world politics and current events and social media? Like self-awareness isn't cool, right? We look at politics and they lean so extreme in any direction that they're almost proud of not seeing reality or truth. Wait, what is it about politics and social media that disincentivizes self-awareness?
I think it all comes from pain. I don't think it's pride. I think it's pain. I think every human wants somebodyness.
Wants somebody what?
Somebodyness. Wants to feel like I am somebody. And there's just so many people who don't feel heard. They don't have places and environments where they're seen.
Yeah.
And a human being will do anything to survive, to feel alive.
Yeah.
Right? At the corner of Happy and Healthy, I told the class, Walgreens, CVS, the line is long for anxiety and stress and to get medication when really
that's
all
deadening. That's not
my goodness,
that's deadening it. Yeah.
When some self-awareness and some courage driven by that self-awareness to have some difficult conversations, we probably could live a lot less stress-filled.
Yeah.
Right? And so in the workplace, it matters because conflict is costly. Leaders who cannot see themselves opening the back door of every organization, and people are leaving leaders. They're leaving a feeling that they get from managers and bosses who cannot see themselves. And so what we want to do is sharpen that view of how I see myself. And if I can see myself and be aware of how I show up with others, then not only am I encouraging myself, I'm opening the door for trust and for relationship and for excellence.
Yeah.
Without that self-awareness, we are in a hamster wheel of stupidity.
So before, and I love that quote, isn't that awesome?
Yeah.
But before we go into the how you get there, if politicians and people on social media aren't a great source for seeing self-awareness,
that's right.
Who can I look to that not only to kind of model that behavior, but then to also self-check? Yes. Am I self-aware? Because by definition, if you're not self-aware, you don't know it, right?
Yeah, right. You said something during class today, Tim, that I thought was really valuable. You said looking in the mirror hurts, but it pays off.
It does.
It hurts for us to accept that, oh, hey, maybe I'm not seeing myself the way that others might, right? And we're all guilty of that in whatever, an internal kind of self-reflection or an external, like how I see myself can be completely different at times from the way others might view me or see.
So, Ariah, you're saying the best place to go is the mirror. It's to actually look at yourself
I think first
and try to see yourself.
I think, and that's kind of what we talked about today, obviously managing yourself from the mirror. You've got to accept that there might be other opinions or perspectives of what others have about yourself. And you've got to be willing to accept that first before you try to even accept that feedback or seek people out for that kind of feedback.
When I really look at myself, if I get an authentic picture of myself, one of the conclusions I come to is I need you. I'm not in it by myself. Yeah. An accurate, authentic view of myself moves me to want to be in connection and understanding with others.
Yeah.
But if I can't really see myself, I overestimate my capacity.
Yeah.
I overestimate my ability to get things done. And the truth is, as human beings, we have a need to be somebody, but we also have a need to be with others.
Yeah.
And we have to have both.
So the need makes sense. One path makes sense getting there, which is looking in the mirror and listening to some of the other voices. The other voices aren't always right, though. So what's a good strategy to take that first step into self-awareness? Mm-hmm. Maybe I think, hey, you know what? I'm pretty self-aware, pat myself on the back. That's probably the step one to know you're not self-aware, right? What's the first step to knowing that you need that?
In our conversation with Zeigler University, we talk about 3 areas where we can shift. Take that step towards self-awareness. Number 1 is my language. Number 2 is my listening. Ooh. And number 3 is my reactions.
Ooh.
That's where we usually find the most trouble is, how am I talking to myself? Am I beating myself up with why did I do that questions? Or am I encouraging and holding myself accountable with what questions? I'll give you an example. Okay. So instead of saying, why did I blow up at Sam at work?
Why did you, Tim?
I have no idea. But what answer I can get to is, what are the commonalities about the times I get angry? That if I can change why to what, and assess my own patterns, what are the behaviors, what are the conditions, what are the ways in which I show up in ways I'm not proud of, if I pay attention to the pattern instead of the why question where I go to beating myself up, shame, blame, victimhood, villainhood, right? Turning into a hero. Why takes me in the mirror is not a good question. If I shift my language to what, I can change my behavior.
That's a great point, and it actually relates to a quote I love. The quality of our questions determines the quality of our relationships, right?
Absolutely.
So turning the quality of our questions, Ariah, you're really good at this. Any questions that you ask yourself that help keep you in check as it relates to self?
That's a tough one, and I can't say that.
How about
I
putting you
don't
on the spot, huh?
have the answer directly for that one.
Because I think you're pretty self-aware as it relates to health and fitness, right?
Sure.
A lot
Yeah.
of people may say, "Hey, why me?
Yeah.
Why me?"
Why?
Right?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
the perfect example is, why didn't I work out this week like I said I would?
Yes.
Instead of, what are the conditions that will make sure I get, what do I need to move to make sure I get up every morning at that
It
time?
resonated with me today, right? Because a lot of people will go immediately to that why and that negativity of, oh, maybe I don't have the resources. Well, anyone who's in that kind of why mentality, it's a lot easier to get on the side of what and go to the root of those things.
What?
Of what?
Yeah.
What is keeping me from doing that? What is really the root cause?
What's in the way?
It's in the way.
Yeah.
It's really what
Instead
we're
of
trying
why.
to find.
All right. Let me try this one on you, and it relates to health and fitness. My question for health is, I don't have time. So it's like, you know what? I didn't work out this morning because travel, work, other commitments. Obviously, that's complete bogus, right? We know that. So how do I change that question into a what question?
I might ask, what is the difference between Ariah's 24 hours and mine?
Oh, that's really good. And
Right. So what choices are being made about those 24 hours?
Yeah.
In your case, right?
Yeah.
Because again, this is about what moves me toward the person I want to be.
So, Ariah, you have a social media presence. Do you have a 24-hour webcam so I can fully answer that?
I do not.
Oh, thank goodness. All right, that's good. That would probably be a bigger problem.
That's another version of the Driving Forward podcast.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
It's not advisable. So that is awesome. What's the next step? So
well, I think, so my language is important, but also how I listen.
Yeah.
Because I get my sense of who I am from my interactions with you.
Yeah.
I don't even know who I am unless I interacted with others.
Yeah.
And so listening is really important to understanding myself. And most of us, we don't listen very well. We don't listen as if we're aware. We're already rehearsing what we're going to say next. We're judging. We're advising. Some of us are literally dreaming while other people are talking. Our body's in the room, but our mind is across the street.
All right, fine. I was hoping that I'd figure out a way to finally consistently work out as you're talking. That's terrible.
Right?
Yeah.
Seriously. Like it.
So I'm becoming self-aware, Tim Terrentine. Thank you.
This is why we're here, Sam. That's why we're. But think about how many ways.
Coach Jess, there's hope.
Think about how many ways we don't listen and don't know it.
Yeah. Well, and you can tell when somebody's not present with you and not listening because you do get a little bit of, you just asked a question that made no sense. It was not a dance with what I just said, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It's just,
and by the way, that actually diminishes a relationship too. If I can tell that you're not listening to me and you're thinking of something else to say, we're in less relationship, less sync together, right?
Yeah. Right. Well, and here's the thing. If I can't hear you, how in the world am I going to get quiet enough to hear me?
I'm first to admit that I'm guilty of this, and identifying and advising are the two that I gravitate towards. When I'm listening, I'll listen in a way because I'm such a fixer that I'm already thinking of a solution without hearing the entire problem first. And so that's something that I've become self-aware about. Even just in talking today, I'm thinking like, oh gosh, these are the things I'm identifying, and I'm going to fix them without listening to the whole problem. Yeah.
And isn't it great that listening to a podcast like this, hearing your vision, it helps us make commitments to ourselves. You made a great comment just now. If I can't get quiet enough to listen to you, how will I be quiet enough to listen to me? Why is listening to me that important?
Because over time we lose our compass. Life has a way of infiltrating our vision where other people's, other interests, other competing values, we start to creep away from who we desire to become. And that creep has us behaving in ways that are also not the person we want to become.
Yeah. You wake up at 40 something and you realize, my gosh,
I'm so far away from where I said I wanted to be. And then here's the other part. The last slide of the class talks about how life is really just us crashing into each other and having impact on each other as we go.
Yeah.
So every crash we have with each other, we're having an impact. And if I'm not aware of my impact, it's going to skew negative.
Interesting. Yeah.
Because that's what that individualistic thing has us doing some really selfish stuff with each other. But that's not what makes teams go.
Yeah.
That's not what makes families love one another. I mean, we got to intervene and make the shift in our language and in our listening. And then finally, it's about my reactions. How I respond to what you're doing is also a thing that can keep me either in trust or out of it.
Tell us what you mean by that.
So think about it. Like, all of us have internal injuries, traumas, histories, things that hurt. And when others step on them, we overreact.
Yeah.
There's a reaction that's bigger than what seems appropriate.
Now, emotional IQ is learning how to control that, moderate that, understand that.
That's grad school.
Yeah.
Basics is, do I even know I'm reacting?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so many of us don't even know.
That's right.
We just have these reactions, and think about how many relationships, teams, processes, plans, outcomes have been derailed because of an individual's reaction to something.
Yeah. Oh, I can tell you. Yeah, that's absolutely right. Yeah.
It's huge. The impact these three things have on our lives. And so all we're saying is, can you be intentional about your language with yourself in the mirror, the way you listen, and how you respond? And if you just take those three areas and say, how do I get 1%, 2%, 3% better every day? More focused in my listening, eliminating those blocks to my listening.
Ed Milet, one more.
Right. One more.
So I want to bring up a quote that is a little off topic, but it brings us back.
Yes.
So Brene Brown, have you read Brene Brown? Love her. We brought her up in the Man in the Arena speech at Performance Group for the finance crew. We read that. To me, it's a beautiful speech.
That's right.
We actually played her part of the TED Talk where she talks about that. And at the very end, she talks about, for those listeners, we'll put it in the show notes. Do you remember the quote well enough to recite it?
I can't recite it.
I don't either. But it basically is, if you're not in the arena, you don't have the right to criticize me, right?
That's right.
And part of being self-aware is understanding, am I getting feedback and am I connected with my team who is in the arena, and we're bound together by a common goal, working towards a common goal together, and putting the voices of those in the arena outside a little bit. And the finance performance group clapped at the part of the talk where she says, you know what? If you're not in there with me, face marred by blood and sweat, as the quote says, I don't care about your vote or your opinion. And she said it in a very strong and different way.
Right, yeah.
Thoughts on that as it relates to self-awareness?
Yeah, and I agree that it starts with me. And I think that sometimes we've gotten in a habit where we close off the arena. And the truth is, we could be inviting more people to come play.
Ooh.
Move them from spectators to in the action.
By invitation.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so...
Because actually, to something you said earlier, deciding whether they're in the arena or not requires judgment, which doesn't help on the self-awareness.
Yeah, you have to be a very self-aware person to invite fans into the field of play.
Yeah, well, or not fans.
Right, or non-fans.
Yeah, or critics. It's not the critic who counts.
If I'm a person in the stands who thinks I have some potential to play, I want to be around a leader awake and aware enough to invite me. Not to just look at my actions while I'm criticizing, but look at me, the human, and ask some different questions.
And that goes back to those wounds, right? So an aware leader can see the wounds from the person in the peanut gallery.
That's right.
And say, hey, look, I understand this person is reacting because of some history, whatever that history might be, and I'm going to invite you in through language.
Yes.
Oh no, help me, Ariah.
Language, listening,
and
reaction.
And reactions.
Well, and remember this now.
And react.
For us gladiators,
I love the imagery.
We're but one step away from having a seat in the stands ourselves. So a little grace and empathy would help too.
It's called retirement,
right?
whether it's in place or not.
Because Father Time is undefeated. You won't always be the man.
Come on. That's not true.
That is so true. Right?
Here, perspectives valuable.
Human perspectives are valuable.
And then
because here's the thing, again, with a critic, we've quoted Brene Brown. Let me quote one of her teachers, Maya Angelou, who said, if it's human, it's not foreign to me. So everything I see that I don't like in humanity, I could do it.
Wait, will you just say that one more time? Wait, say that one more time. It's human?
It's not foreign to me. I am capable of everything I see in humanity. So lest I get arrogant and think I'm always on the winning team, my goal should be to be aware and be empathetic and be inviting, so that others can become what I'm becoming or who they should become, right? And so I'm I
love the conversation because there's a natural disjointedness in that. There's irony or paradox.
That's right.
In having a team that is as competitive as we are.
Yes.
And yet we also hold as a high ethic the ability to compete without competing, right?
Together.
Competing to the betterment of us all. And that is a tough line to walk.
Competition and empathy are not enemies.
Ooh, competition and empathy.
There's a way. There's a way to do everything with empathy. I can fire somebody with some grace.
Oh, there's no doubt. That respect for the human that they are.
Which means I can compete in the same way.
Yeah. No, we believe that. We hold that as
right. And so the problem is because we're not self-aware, we say it and we don't do it.
Yeah.
Self-awareness helps you align what you say with what you do.
Yeah.
And that's why that mirror piece is so incredibly important, because we'll look up and we'll be saying one thing, but what our people are experiencing can be completely different.
Well, as we conclude the podcast, we probably need to play Michael Jackson's Man in the Mirror just for fun, right?
Hey, listen, I'm telling you, we charge for that. Let me tell you, you can get a band, we can sing it for you.
Yeah, we can't really use that because there's copyright on that. But you have given us such great keys. Language, listening,
reactions,
and reactions. And you were helping me because you thought I wouldn't get 2 and 3, but I was listening.
Good.
And I'm reacting positively, right, Ariah?
Yes, I'm really
I love it.
And one of these days, I am going to start asking the what about the daily exercise.
That's right.
I'm going to change.
It's all about the mirror. If you're standing in the mirror, why probably isn't helpful.
Yeah. Okay. Scale 1 to 10, how good are you at singing? Can you sing our way out to a Man in the Mirror?
Well, that's for everybody else to determine.
Ariah, any singing skills?
I am good with karaoke, but not.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it because there's just, I don't think people would like for me to end the song singing. But you come see me live somewhere. You check that out.
Tim Terrentine, you've given us such great nuggets. Thank you for the information you've given us. Team Zeigler, everyone across the Zeigler Auto Group that gets a chance to be a part of one of these sessions with Tim and with Ariah, run, don't walk, run. And if you're outside our auto group listening to this on our external podcast, you can reach out to Tim Terrentine through Translators Consulting Group. Tim, tell us how the general public can reach out to you.
Sure. Just go to translators.cg.com, translators.cg.com. And you can get in touch with me or the team there. Our trainings are all available. We're working with organizations to create understanding where there's confusion. And self-awareness is one of those areas. So we're glad to do it with Zeigler.
And today we used language to hear what you're saying and to take action on it. Tim Terrentine, Ariah Daniels, thank you. Thanks to Ariah Daniels and Tim Terrentine for contributing to this week's podcast. Remember to join the Driving Vision podcast Zeigler Kalamazoo Marathon Finish Line live stream Sunday, April 23rd via the link attached in today's show notes. And until next week, how are you driving vision today?